Hello and welcome to the No Taboo Woo Show.
I'm Sandra Logan.
And I'm Gail Chisholm.
If you enjoy being a fly on the wall of deep and meaningful conversations between pals on all things spirituality, healing and personal empowerment, then you have landed in the right podcast.
Enjoy today's episode.
Hello!
Hello.
Welcome to the No Taboo Woo Show.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good. It's not as cold today as it has been because recently it has been fucking Baltic. Like minus temperatures. When you live in a van, you feel it intensely. So the diesel heater, which I'm sitting on, has been working its little ass off. And I checked it today and the level was like way lower than I was expecting it to be. But then it's my first experience with one. And yeah, so it's been working hard. I've got my wee blanket on today.
I have a blanket too. We had frost this morning and apparently it's just 6 degrees now. It is a beautiful wintry autumny day.
Nice.
But I can't lie, it is cold.
Yeah. I've been really liking the crisp days. I love that about autumn when you get a dry, like a crisp sunny day and you've got the sun on your face warming you. Like I had that this morning, the park up that I was at. It was a really, really beautiful spot. And it's, what is it called? Newlands Corner, I want to say it's called. So I'm on this, it's called North Downs Way and it's the Pilgrim's Way. I think I was saying to you in a message that I'd done this meditation connecting with my ancestors and Canterbury had come up in it. And I didn't know anything about Canterbury. And it was because Gail and I were going to meet up in Brighton, but our plans have been postponed. So hopefully she's going to meet me in sunny Spain instead.
We've just been talking about how fucking cold it is. Sunny Spain.
Take me to the sun. And when I was looking at the route to take, I was guided to go this middle route, which was like way, like a roundabout way from where I was to get to Brighton. Anyway, it turns out I was taking Freddie a walk the other night and I was in a different location on this Pilgrim Way. And I came across one of the signs that was like talking about what it is. And it basically goes all the way to Dover, which is where I'm planning to get the ferry from, via Canterbury. And I was like, that's fucking nuts. So it's almost like my ancestors have been guiding me in this direction. So I don't know what's going to unfold, but it feels quite spiritual. Like when I was standing the other day, I was like watching the sunset up at this Newlands Corner because I've been there twice now. And the views there, it's like the Surrey Hills and it's absolutely beautiful. Freddie was living his best life. He was like running about absolutely mental across the fields. Got some cracking pictures of him. But it's just been like really, really beautiful. So I'm excited to see what's going to unfold in this journey. That's what I like about van life is that without a solid plan, you kind of, flow with it and see where you go, which is, it can be quite nice.
Yeah, I do admire that about how you've embraced it. I was reflecting on this just yesterday, actually, I was talking about my Chiron return and in human design and stuff and the gate that it's in. And I was reflecting on something around, I'd used the word that for like constrained or like kind of like not letting go. And I was just thinking last night around, like when I had my van, how didn't just let go. And like obviously I did do do you remember also when I was like trying to stay in a pub car park and you're like, shall I phone them and ask? And I was just like such a bother. And then so I was reflecting on it and thinking like I remember like wanting to have a van and what it represented and what I saw myself doing. But when the reality I was probably a bit constrained on it and a bit too like I'm going to use the term risk averse, and that's probably the best way to describe it in terms of just being like, I had all these visions of like, just being like, oh, fuck it, I'm going away this weekend and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's funny because I realize actually I haven't really scratched that itch. So I do think that at some point I'll probably get a van, but I was just really thinking back on it and I was like, a very tempered version of what I had envisaged.
Mm,
And it's really interesting how sometimes, like, I was thinking about this sort of Chiron return, or like these influences when we step back and see about where conditioning shows up in your life, and
mhm,
how we've had this dream or expectation, but when we um, make that dream a reality, or we bring it to fruition, but actually sometimes our conditioning means that the experience of it isn't exactly what we'd envisaged. But it's
mm,
but that was also, but then recognizing that was really my choice for it not to be as I had envisaged. But I realized I wasn't, yes, it was my choice around that with the van, but I realize now with some of this sort of like conditioning that the I was gonna say the choice wasn't really mine. What I'm really mean is it was more it's influenced by many external factors which are to do with learned behavior. Whereas I think
mm.
now, fast forward, like if I had a van now and where I am in my growth, like it would be different, I think. Definitely.
Yeah. What would you say some of the conditions are that stopped you from doing it the way that you wanted to do it?
So I think this is where I was sort of saying around this, sort of like that risk averse. It's more things like silly things like, oh, why don't I just go away this weekend? Oh, well, what about this? And oh, it's cold. And where will I stay? What will I do? Like the being really organized and
The
planned rather than,
practical
yeah,
aspect.
yeah, it's like
Mm,
sensible Sally hat. And then whereas if I had just, when I got the van, I had expectations of the freedom, the fluidity, and going more with the flow, and getting out and being more connected to just being around and having some adventures. And I'm like, I did have
mm,
adventures. It wasn't like I didn't, but it was a very tame version. It wasn't what in my head I had thought I would do. And I realized that that is like, that was all choices, but I
yeah.
was like, the choices were, I realized, come from that kind of conditioned place around being able to answer all these questions and like, well, what would you do in this circumstance? And, and being here or there and not just being so free with it and just going more with
Yeah.
the flow. Um, so yeah, that was my sort of reflection just recently on like adventures. And that's something that I always like, it's really lovely when we talk about, where are you now? And you're like, oh, I'm just here. And I
Yeah.
think some of that, I don't know, maybe it's a question for you around, um, to me, some of that I think comes with time and practice, like
Mhm.
practicing just, I don't really know where I'm going to be. And then
Mhm.
looking at that as like the opportunity um, rather than a constraint, and always having to have things figured out. I know you said before, like when it's been your house, like sometimes the downside is, where am I going to stay? I need to empty the
Yeah.
toilet, like
Yeah.
practical stuff. But like by and large, there has been a lot more. It certainly, as an observer, it feels like there's a lot more. You have been a lot more free with your van life. So,
Yeah,
um,
probably. I
I
think,
don't know what you
I
think about that.
yeah, I'd agree. But it's really funny because it's ebbed and flowed throughout the journey. I don't feel like it's been something that's been consistent the whole way through. It's been like a massive learning curve for me, though, to be honest. I've learned a lot about myself in the process of van life, and it's certainly pushed me a lot out of my comfort zone. And it helps, I think, because I've got so many mutable placements in my chart, like I'm excessively mutable, which is really go with the flow energy. So actually for me, creating more structure and a bit more balance, especially around routines and things, I've noticed supports me more, especially in van life, because it's like you say, there's so many like chores to think about. I mean, like day to day, you don't have the mental load of thinking how much water you're using, or you can flush the toilet and not
Um,
worry about, oh, when am I going to have to empty this? Or where can I empty it? Because all of the fucking campsites are shut in winter in the UK. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So it makes it really challenging. And then you've got things like park ups and where you can get a good night's sleep and all of these kind of things. Like the main challenge that I've found with this lifestyle has been the mental load. It has been such a lot. And there's times that I certainly crave somewhere more stable. And I think it's like, when I think back to being in a house, I had that feeling about having more freedom and adventure. And I feel like we're always looking at things from like two polar ends, but there is a middle ground, there is a balance. And it's really interesting because I've been reflecting on this like past cycle that I've been in, that I started back in 2023. And even like, I remember before I got the van, sitting with you, Gail, and you asking me questions around, like, because a van that I had planned to get did not work out. That's a whole fucking shit show that we'll talk about another day. But before I got this van, I remember you sitting down and asking me about, it was like all these questions, generator questions about, well, could it be that it's a house and a van? Or could it be this and that, or this or that? And I've been reflecting a lot on it because I think that I was just so headstrong in the moment. I was so hell bent on it being my way. And I actually think that at some point there could be a balance between having a home base and still having a van and having that freedom and adventure, but having somewhere to come back to, and not having the constant, thinking about all of these different things on an ongoing basis, because it really does interfere with like the other parts of my life that I want to expand. Because when we're spending our energy, especially as a generator, on things that don't light me up, like running about trying to get water, trying to get the toilet emptied, making sure that I've got fuel, making sure I've got LPG, diesel in the diesel heater, all of these different things, it's such a lot to think about on a day-to-day basis, because you're only carrying so much water, etc., etc. I realise for some people listening, this will be snooze fest, but it's just the reality of it. Like, and I love the bits where, like this morning, I woke up in this beautiful setting, the sun was rising, and I took Freddie out a walk with my coffee, and it was absolutely beautiful. And it's mornings like that I'm like, this is what it's about. But the reality of van life is that it's not like that the majority of the time. A lot of the time you're staying in park ups that there is no view. You're not even getting solar because there's trees overhanging. And sometimes you're thinking, oh, am I going to piss anybody off? Or, things like that. Can I get my van parked in these car parks? So there's all of these different things that go on. But I've certainly leaned into the part of it that feels exciting and fun for me. And that's the thing that I do try to focus my energy on, because I'm mindful that you can really get bogged down. It's like anything in life, right? Because we always have to do things that we don't particularly want to do. And it's part of our growth. It's just part of being a human that there's things to take care of. But I make a conscious effort to choose to focus on the things that do light me up and the things that do bring me joy. And that's a big part of it. But going back to what you were saying about, like, going out, and Frida was Gail's fan's name.
Mhm.
Frida's now gone to a new home and new
I hope she's
adventures.
having lots of adventures.
Yeah. But before I got this van, got Peggy, I borrowed Gail's van for, I think it was just over a week, maybe 10 days. And I went off down to the Lake District. And I remember shitting myself. I was shitting myself because I was in your van. So that feels like a lot of responsibility, because you're like, don't crash the fucking van. I mean, don't crash your van anyway, right? But like when it's someone else's thing, you're like, got to be extra careful. And yeah, just be mindful to take care of it. And like, I was so appreciative of that opportunity as well. And it really helped me to tap into the energy of it. But I do remember like one of the nights I was like, it was like I think it was like one of the National Trust car parks. It was like in the fucking arse end of nowhere in the Lake District. I remember going up this single track. It was pitch black. And I was like peering out the curtains all night because I couldn't sleep. And I was like, any sound whatsoever outside, I was like, what was that? And there's probably foxes and squirrels and mice and all sorts in the woods up there. And I was like properly shitting myself. And then in the morning, I remember getting ready, being like, I'd survived my first night off grid. Feeling all like pleased with myself. So I think back to like that version of myself, and I see the growth in me, and I feel like so much more comfortable with, like, part of it's taking up space in the world, and part of it is, embracing the like exploration and the being in different situations and circumstances. And yeah, it's been really cool. It's been such a journey, like literally and figuratively. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's not been all just one thing or another. It's been a real mix. Some days I love it, and some days I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But
I
nothing's
think we all get
forever,
like
right?
that though, eh? Exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nothing's forever. And I think that like whatever lifestyle we choose, you know, if we change our minds or if we're like having doubts about it, if we just make the most of it in the meantime, we can always work towards something else. And like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. It
No,
can be this and that. So
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Um,
So you think you'll get another van then at some point?
I think so. I know that, like we've talked I mean, Bob was like he was like, "I could convert one." And I'm like, "Yes, you could." I'm like,
Also, you're
"Sometimes."
converting, like doing the house up.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I think so. I think it would be good to be able to have it as an option in terms of like some adventures and so on. It's also quite
Yeah.
tricky 'cause, like, I mean, I could have gotten rid of the car and just had the van,
Hmm.
but that's quite a big vehicle just to like to netball.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Um, so I don't know. I think so. I mean, we've talked about it. It's not something that's certainly come up on my radar just yet, but it's definitely there. And where my car is currently still off the road, so it's been like 3 weeks. It's hopefully going to get fixed this week. But honestly, the amount of times this I've been like, just release. You can't do anything about it. Shouting and screaming
Mm,
doesn't change the situation. And this is
towards the
an
street end.
opportunity to practice patience and blah blah blah. So I have felt a bit, I felt quite stuck without a vehicle, and I've
Mm.
totally lost my train of thought as to what I was going to say with that. This is a thrilling podcast, isn't it? Gail's having a menopause moment.
Maybe it just wasn't meant to be said, right? Maybe it just wasn't meant to be said. You were talking
Yeah,
about potentially getting another van.
I don't know what my point was, to be
I've
honest.
got incense um,
Yeah.
flowing about me, and it's so strong. Said to Gail before I started, it's a golden era one. This one's called.
Mm.
It's quite strong.
Some of
It's
them are
nice,
quite
but it's
pungent.
strong.
I
Mm.
don't have incense anymore in the house, and even doing a bit of saging or Palo Santo, and like Bob's one of these people that feels like he can taste some smells. So when I used
Mm.
to burn incense in my house, if he would come in, he'd be like, that tastes horrible." I'm like, "You're not eating it," but um, obviously the taste and smell are so connected, but,
Yeah.
so I've stopped doing that, and actually what he is better at is doing more like diffusing of oils and water,
Mm.
um, but maybe when I get my little own office space, my wee cupboard, I'll be able
Imagine
to.
it like a smoke room.
I
And
know.
just
It's like that.
full of
You
smoke.
have to cut through the fog of, like, some incense.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I remember, like, 'cause like, really like incense, and my mum said to me, she was like, "Oh, your granddad used to really like incense." And I thought, "That's really weird." Like, I would
Ah,
never have put my granddad down as an incense person, but he did a
there
lot of
you
traveling
go.
with the RAF into I don't know if he was ever in, like, India, but he was certainly out in the Far East.
Mhm.
Um and maybe it was a trick to just stop the stench of something else as people would burn incense, and
Ah,
maybe he just
maybe.
liked it when he came back. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, no, Bob, he's like, "I can taste that." I'm like, "You're not supposed to eat it."
Mm.
And he's like, but just one of
I
those
wonder
people.
if he is his strongest sense taste
I don't
in
think,
human design?
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I could look it up, but I'm not
Um,
gonna. I just stopped I just stopped burning the incense. Do you wanna
yeah.
do the card pull?
Yeah, I'll do
I've
the
not
carb
gone
pull.
rogue today with an actual I was gonna say it's a rogue controversial choice of deck,
A
but
rogue.
it's, it's maybe a bit
You're
more
going
classic
for it.
old school.
I know, going for proper old school. So I was drawn to good old Rider Waite today.
Oh.
This was the deck that I learned with. Queen of Wands, she keeps poking out.
Oh.
Um, but this was the deck that I learned tarot with. And do you know what? Maybe it's that. So I launched my tarot readings today.
Whoop, whoop,
I
well
have
done.
put them out into the world, having finally finished my website that I did all by myself. So um, it's not perfect, but we're releasing that because it doesn't need to be. Done is better than perfect. That's the life motto for the moment. So it's done. And maybe it's just that I'm feeling a bit nostalgic. And I was like, the old Rider Waite's coming out. So we'll see what it's got for us today. We're coming to the end of Mercury retrograde, thankfully. This one's been, there's been other planets in retrograde as well. We've had Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus.
I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of things that have just not gone according to plan in the
Oh,
last few weeks, so, uh,
seriously. It
I will
seems
be
like
glad to see the back
everything.
of it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, eh? It's just like learning to adapt when there's
Mm.
like all these obstacles. It's like the go around and um yeah, because some things it's just like the reminder there's so much outside of your control, isn't there? And it's like, what can I do? What
It's
can I do?
also like I mean, as I say, like, there's been a whole bunch of things that have been really shit, and because I've not had my car as well, is like I've felt really trapped. It's probably the best way
Mm,
to describe it.
yeah.
You know, and so, it's trying to sort of flip it and look through a different lens and saying, "Well, what's the opportunity here?"
Mm,
Um, you know, and I think there's a lot of, like, heavy energy going around at the moment 'cause I weirdly, I even said to Bob yesterday, I was like, "What's even the point of, like, getting up and getting out of my pajamas?" 'Cause, like, you know, and not in, like, a depressive way, but I was like, it was just felt a bit like, well, I've one Zoom call, and then I've got netball later, and then, you know, but I
mm,
was like, I forced myself well, A, I did get out of bed, but I was like, "Just put a little bit of concealer and mascara on," and it was amazing how it shifted things, but, it does feel like at the moment there's just, like, weird energy, and maybe it's
yeah,
also a reminder around to just slow down and enjoy a bit more of the winter, um, and, it's okay to rest.
yeah. I think that's like a big part of it. I was saying that to you, wasn't I, about the nights drawing in. Like it really feels
Mm.
like a sort of hermit energy.
Have you read
And
the
that,
November chapter in Wintering yet?
yeah. So we've both been reading Wintering, by the way. For anybody that's not read it, I can't remember who wrote it. Do you remember Kate? Somebody is it?
Catherine May. I think it's
Catherine
her
May.
name's Catherine May.
Yeah, you're right. Um, and this is my first time of reading it. And I really, really loved it. I binged it all to November. So I haven't read it recently. I might go back and reread November actually. But I just really love it. It's almost like a permission slip to just wind down a little bit
I think
and
for me, it's a
embrace the things
reminder
in.
around, like, modern society has, um, meant that we've tuned out to things that were natural rhythms, and by that, like,
Mm,
I was just when you were talking there, like, about the responding to the light, and she talks in the November chapter around how obviously pre-electric light, you went to bed when it got dark. And
yeah.
actually people so you would be going to bed at, like, 5 o'clock, but then it's like you slept for, like, 4 or 5 hours, and then people got up and were awake
Yeah.
for a couple of hours, and it was
Yeah.
like, you know, like, chatting to your family in, like, the darkness or writing by candlelight or, you know, because some of it's obviously around conserving energy, you're not just gonna have, like, the gas
Mm,
lamps burning, and then people would go back to sleep again.
yeah.
And actually this natural rhythm that, you know, for a lot of people, it's like to have more sleep in the winter and to
Mhm.
tune into that. But you know, we have electric light and then even things like all our electronics, and it's easy to suddenly find yourself still up at midnight. And then, of course, when
Mm,
I really struggle with like the dark mornings,
yeah.
um, and it's just like it feels like it's so late, it's, like, so sluggish. I really like a slow morning, I have to say that's one thing I love
Same.
about being self-employed is the ability to have a slow morning, to slowly wake
Yeah.
up, to just have a coffee, to just lie in bed and, like, just to come to gradually,
Yeah.
which is also, I suppose, like, flowing with the sunlight, but, I thought it was really interesting, and I'm sure she said in the book that, somewhere recently did an experiment around that where they took all the lights and actually how humans, we just suddenly tuned into that cycle in this way of like you go to
Mhm.
bed when it gets dark then and then this waking in the night, and actually the waking in the night, because of the time at which you're doing it, is that, that kind of, it's almost like a period of creativity and the silence
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
there and what
Yeah.
arises, and I just thought that's really quite cool.
That was one of my favourite things about that chapter, actually. I
Mm.
thought it sounded really romantic as well, because it was, like, that time where, like, people would wake up and in the night they would, like, cozy in with their partner, or they'd make love, or they'd have, like, pillow talk, or, like, even just get up and have, like, a moment of reflection, and, like, I just thought it just sounded so lovely,
Yeah.
and,
And you must be
I
so
think
well rested if, like, you're literally
yeah,
responding to the light and then,
yeah,
you're going to bed when it's dark.
yeah,
So you probably are a lot more inclined to be, you're energized around to be able to respond to whatever comes up rather than this sense of like we just keep pushing.
yeah, and I think, like, 'cause as we were talking about it there, like, I was thinking back to when I was doing 9 to 5, and I mean, if somebody had proposed to me that that would be the way that I would sleep before going to a 9 to 5 job, I'd be like, "No fucking chance. It's not happening." Um, I was like, needed my 8 hours and sleep a night to feel rested, but part of me is like, I think going to bed earlier and experimenting with it, I'd quite like to see how I feel actually. I feel most intuitive first thing in the morning. That's funny. Did you hear the beep?
Mhm.
Confirmation. Um, I think it is because it's that quiet time and that, before the world starts. That's what I really liked about 5 a.m. Club, was before the traffic and all the noise and everybody was on the go. It was just that moment to sort of connect with yourself and your intuition and just see what came up, which I really liked.
My reflection on that is, five. I understand, and because I do. That's partly what I like with the slow morning is that you can just
Mm,
choose to do whatever feels right rather than feeling the hustle and that
yeah,
that time is a ticking already. And obviously I can't do 5 a.m. club every day. I don't have enough of a motor center nor the motivation center defined in my chart. Um, but I do like the ability to just slow down in the morning and tune into what I'm feeling called to on a particular day, um,
yeah,
rather than. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's like almost like society feel like, so whoever wrote that, I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Hal Elroy? No, somebody else. Anyway, is
Oh,
about,
the Robin Sharma, the
yeah,
5 a.m. Club.
because
Yeah.
it's like it's a sense of in order for you to get that, you have to get up before everyone else. Where it's like,
Mm,
actually, why does it need to be at 5 a.m.? To me, it could be like, well, if you want to do that, how do you structure your day to allow
yeah.
yourself the peace and tranquility in the morning rather than feel that in order to do that, you have to get up before everybody else. And then
Yeah.
that means then you're going to bed before everyone else. But weirdly, like
Mm,
if you think about if you actually tuned your sleep into the light cycles, is actually you probably would um in the summertime, that's when you would probably naturally potentially wake up, you'd have sort of less sleep. But then in the winter,
mm,
if you're having that period in the middle of the night, it wouldn't
yeah.
necessarily be 5, it might be more like at like 3 a.m., you've naturally
Yeah.
woken up and you're having an hour of something where it might be you do your slow yoga, your meditation, your journaling, and then you go back to sleep
Mm,
again. So
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, just a 5 a.m.
And
start every day for me is just like hard.
and I think that's a big thing, isn't it? It's just like tapping into what feels good for you, because it's
Mm.
not gonna be for everybody. And to be honest, like, I've not been getting up at 5. I've been getting up at like 7. But I do notice that it's like I'm being woken by traffic. It's like before my alarm even goes off, because it seems like there's traffic everywhere. And that was one thing that I did like about the 5 a.m. It seemed like everywhere was quieter, because it's like not so many people on the roads and all that. So maybe I'll
Mm.
go back to it, but maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see. I had to put my hood up because my napper's freezing. I did my first own head shave, like full head shave,
Mm.
because obviously my ex used to do it. And so I did it myself, but I have a mirror that's like this big.
Oh
It's like
God,
3
it's
inches.
tiny.
Yeah, I do have a slightly bigger one, like up on the wall, but it's stuck to the wall. It's just not a practical place for me to
Wow.
be able to see the back of my head properly. So I was trying to feel to see. So I literally have no idea what it looks like at the back. It could be a fucking shit show. At the front, it
Nice.
looks not too bad. I'm not sure yet, though. I'll keep my headscarf on. But anyway, let's see what the cards have for you. Okay,
Okay.
universe. What does the person listening today, what would they need to hear? That's too many cards. We found about 5 cards there. What is the guidance for the person listening today? Oh, some sneaky behaviour around 7 of Swords. What's this 7 of Swords about? Tell me more. Ah, okay. We've got the 7 of Swords and the 10 of Cups. Okay. So, 7 of Swords, traditionally in this Rider-Waite Tarot, it is the lying, cheating, stealing card. Um, so it's not seen as the most positive card in the deck, but it can also be a bit of self-sabotage. And coming out with the 10 of Cups, which is like the happiest card. 10 of Cups is like wish fulfillment. It's your happy ever after. It's feeling like, you're winning at life, that everything is emotionally in alignment for you. And with the 7 of Swords coming out with this, I feel like it could be that that you're sort of strategizing on getting towards that 10 of Cups, or you're recognizing that maybe there's been some self-sabotaging behaviors that have not been taking you in the direction of it. And the way these are coming out is it's like the 7 of Swords is kind of going away from this 10 of Cups and looking back at it. And what it is, the phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys, came out. That could be for someone specifically, because there's nothing else coming through with that. But it's like, where are you getting pulled away from the path that you actually want to be on when it comes to what you truly want in life? And where are you taking a step away from it? We've got the Queen of Swords at the bottom of the deck, and the bottom of the deck tells me it's like the underlying energy of like why we're here. And the Queen of Swords is about clarity. I feel like this period, with all the retrogrades that we've had and Mercury retrograde and stuff, that it could be a period that you've got some clarity on where it is that you actually want to be headed, and what your 10 of Cups actually looks like, what your wish fulfillment looks like, and starting to notice the ways that you might have been getting in the way of your own success with that. The Queen of Swords is like, she is above the clouds. She's seeing much more clearly, and it's been a journey for her. And she can be direct. She can be a straight talker, because she's been through a lot, and she's like, don't come to me with your bullshit kind of energy. So I feel like this is really a time of clarity on what it is that you want. And then the 2 of Cups is underneath that. It's like aligning with your higher self and connections and love. And then the Sun, the Scales card. The Sun, happiness. I'm going to ask for a little bit more on this 7 of Swords, see if there's any more guidance. Yeah, we've got the 7 of Wands, the 6 of Swords, and the Hierophant. So this to me is speaking about having your boundaries around what it is that you really want. And there might be some people that don't agree with you, don't agree with the path that you want to take, I feel like that there's potentially been like a change. Um, and the Seven of Wands is like about sort of defending your stance, and it's, people can come at you with their opinions and their ideas of where you should go and what you should do, but this is really about like standing your ground, allowing yourself to move to calmer waters, because you're directed, divinely directed at the moment. Hmm. Um, and there's like a level of commitment and reassessing of your values with this move as well. This could be a physical move for you, but it could be just a situation that you're moving through, and that you've really been looking at, like, what do I believe? Like, what do I believe about happiness, about what happiness looks like for me? Like, what actually even makes me happy? Have the things that I've been doing been making other people happy instead of myself? What do I really value in life? What do I really want from life? And it could be that someone else has sort of sparked, a bit of reflection. It could be even this reading itself. Um, but yeah, this feels like we're heading towards our happiness, and it's not been plain sailing. Star on the bottom of the deck, healing, and again, wish fulfillment. Interesting. People, you'll need to let me know
Mhm.
what's been going on. What comes up for you with those cards, Gail? Seven of Swords, Ten of Cups.
The phrase that came into my head is about the thief joy.
Oh, that's a
Um,
good in.
and I think it's sort of quite common parlance, isn't it? So it's like, you know, who or what is the thief of your joy?
That's a good in.
Mm.
And with the Seven of Swords, sometimes it's our own mind. It's our own,
Yeah.
thoughts. It's our own mental chatter that can steal our joy.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it can be like a shift into a more positive mindset as well, and focusing on what your joy is and what your happiness is. That's an interesting one.
Interrupting this episode to tell you that Sandra offers in-depth one-to-one tarot readings, and I can tell you from personal experience that they are amazing. You can find out more and how to book your appointment today by following the link to her website in the show notes. Now back to the show. How do you
Very
feel using the
interesting.
Rider Waite?
It's like picking up an old friend. It's like, oh, hiya, pal. Hiya. That's what I was saying to when I picked it up first. I was like, hello, my old friend. Yeah, it was like when I first got it, I mean, it's years ago now, and I remember sitting with it and being like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and it felt like this is exciting because it was like there was so much to learn about tarot. I mean, I feel like it can be a lifelong journey. It's like
Mm.
anything, isn't it? But there's so much to learn about the symbolism and the different cards and how they even interact with each other and the stories that they tell and how they connect with each other. And yeah, so it feels nice actually to get it out. I mean, the imagery on the Rider Waite didn't speak to me as much as some of the other decks because it is very traditional. And I
Mm.
feel like some of the imagery on the illustrations on the newer decks, it's like, they've developed in a way and made changes to the traditional Rider Waite based on like our more modern lifestyle, because some of the things are quite old fashioned in the deck. So it's like it's looking at it and it's like, how does that apply to modern day living? Um, but no, it feels nice actually. It's nice to connect with it, and the Rider Waite's such a nice deck to shuffle. I like
Mm.
shuffling this deck. It slides nicely. So
Yeah, because you're a
yeah.
rider. So I've got a Rider Waite. That's what I learned when I went to my class with. Um, my one is the color palette on mine's a little bit more muted. Yours is a lot more vibrant.
Mm,
I've got a couple of decks that are, there's the like, you can really see the connection back to the Rider-Waite, which is nice, but I just find that the imagery I connect with more. But
mhm.
there's quite a lot, like, on, the old tarot TikTok, of, like, a lot of teachers think use it because it's a good one as a good foundation, and, like, actually
Yeah.
the lady who painted it or did the artistry, actually how much she's woven in almost like little secret messages and the symbolism and everything.
Yeah.
Um, I do have a really good book, a random out of TK Maxx, this big massive coffee table book. I think it was like 4.99 or something. It is in storage at the moment, but just when you were talking about the Rider-Waite, it popped into my head because it's a bit around like the history and the symbolism and things in it.
Mhm.
Um, it's nice to be able to um sort of reconnect with that deck, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but
Because it felt like, getting it out of the closet. Because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, you've been hidden away there for so long, not had any attention paid to it." And it's nice to get it out, actually, it feels good.
I know it's probably like,
Mm.
"Woohoo, I'm back."
I know! Getting some life back into me again. I
Mhm.
know, it's mad, isn't it? And it's funny because I was just like, it popped into my head as well, like, how we started the conversation today around, like, the the van life lifestyle and, like, you talking about Frida and the van and, like, you know, what went well with it and what you would have done differently or you'd do differently
Mm,
next time and stuff, and I think, like, that's also, like, a bit of the energy of the Seven of Swords and the Ten of Cups is, like it's looking at, like, the past in a way and being like, reflecting on it and being like, did I take steps that I really wanted to take, or did I actually cock block myself a little bit?
mm.
Um, and, like, reflecting on what would I do differently going forward, and today being the first day of the rest of your life, you can write whatever story you want for your future. It sounded very Scottish. Um, but yeah, it's just it's interesting. I might reflect on that myself a bit more as well, that energy today.
I mean, I
Mm.
know, in terms of, like, the sort of the thief of joy, in like, the thing I've been reflecting a bit on recently, and actually with my Chiron return is actually it's in the gate of the logical child, which actually, in terms of,
Oh.
like, to heal the wound is to look through, like how would a child respond, or how would a child deal with the change,
Ah,
um
okay.
and I've just been reflecting a lot more around, like, where is the fun in my life? So if I was to imagine my ideal life, so the 10 of cups, and actually
Uh-huh.
what are the things that are, not missing per se, but maybe haven't had, like, in terms of, like, your life sectors haven't had much attention recently. I think I
Um,
shared with, like, I did a wee mini life audit a wee while back around, and where you score each of the areas, and definitely, like, the fun and creativity side um, has been much lower. And then when I
mm,
was reflecting yesterday about this sort of, like, the child side of things, and then you think, well, what did I enjoy doing as a child? And actually, I was really creative and imaginative, and I did a lot of reading and stuff. And then, you just sort of think, where's the fun and creativity at the moment? I mean, there's creativity a little
mm.
bit in terms of, like, decorating the house and stuff, but, and actually I don't know if I said on here, but last we had, Bob's daughter, must have been back in October, in her when she was up in October. Her and I decided to, well, I was like, "I want to do something creative, so we're doing something creative together." So this is the joy of having an 11-year-old sort of around in my life now. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
some fun creative stuff. Let's get, like, glue and glitter out." And,
Ah, I love that.
but we went and bought, I wanted to make dream catchers, that's still on my thing, to be honest, but, we actually went into, it was like the Range, that's what it was, and, they have loads of art supplies actually, but,
They've got
she has
loads.
done the little crystal dot things before, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Have you ever done these, girl?" I was like, "No." She bought one, so we bought one each, and then we bought one that had these little window things. I chose a mandala.
Nice.
Straightforward, 5 colours. She chose, it's basically a picture of, like, a husky dog, with umpteen shades of colour. I was like, that's very complicated. That feels like a crystal dot thing for a pro. But it was funny as we started it together, and then like she took hers home with her, and but it was last week actually, one evening. I think it was one evening, like, because also I've been in the house quite a bit because I'm not a joiner and can't do a lot of the stuff that Bob does at the house. And it was just sat on the dining table, and I thought, I'm just gonna just do that for a little bit. And it's very meditative, just
Is
like
it?
yeah, because all you do is like you pick a little crystal up with your little dabber, and you pick it up and you put it on. It's like painting by numbers, but with crystals. So it's like
Uh-huh.
pick, stick, pick, stick, pick, stick. And
And are they like pre-stuck ones? Have they got glue on the
so
bottom of
you're
the thing for it?
the thing that you're putting it onto is sticky. And what I've
All right.
discovered is that I had actually tried to I had to get a lesson from Bob's daughter. And you have to peel the plastic back and then just only over the bit you're working on. Otherwise, what happens is your arm de-sticks the whole thing because like it's the canvas that's sticky, not the
Ah,
crystal.
and you don't want to pull all the hairs out your
Yeah.
arms.
But it did make me realize, like, see, when I was younger, I used to do like all these things. And if I think what was on my Christmas list, I used to do some painting by numbers. I was heavy
Yeah.
crocheting. I embroidered stuff. Like, I remember I used to do embroidery and then like embroidered stuff onto my jeans to personalize the pockets.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
like, do you know when you just sort of reflect back to like when you were a child, what things did you do? Like the creativity and things that you had, and
Yeah.
drawing or playing music or singing or dancing, and um and it was funny when I think of what's the thief of joy, like our phones I think are a big thief of joy,
Yeah, definitely.
because we become so fixed on like just this little world on our hand. I mean, they bring us so much, they do bring joy in certain aspects, but um just like sitting and being creative. um so yeah, so I was like, that's for me where I was sort of thinking around like aspects of my life that maybe aren't as the 10 of cups, or how do I get towards that 10 of cups. And a lot of that
Mm,
is a bit we were saying around the choices you make, and like the thing with
yeah.
the conversation about the van, like you know I chose to have a van, I chose to go on certain things, but then I was like, I'll just stay on a campsite because that's like the easier, like less risky thing. But I'm like, I got a
Yeah.
van, I could have been like, so it's that kind of tempered perspective maybe. So but it's
Mm,
quite interesting, and I just think, it's that kind of fun. Where's the fun? Where's the joy?
yeah. And I love that, like, that way of looking at it as well as like connecting with the inner child
Mm.
and what you like to do back then because like it's like you say, we lose sight of that. And like the other day it was
It's
interesting. When I was walking, I saw I actually heard them before I saw them. And I heard somebody say, "Oh, so what have you been drawing lately?" And then I turned the corner and it was like a young woman and a young guy. And then there was a little boy, maybe about 10 behind them. And the little boy had his face, he was on like, he was gaming and he was just walking along. And like, this is the place I was saying was like one of the most beautiful places I've seen in the
mm,
UK.
mm.
He's just walking along with his head in his game, which is fine, like no judgment. But I found it really interesting the contrast of these other two. I would say they were like maybe late teens, talking about. Sorry if you can hear the motorbikes in the background, people. This is the life that I live. Anyway, um, so yeah, like these like two late teens talking about art and talking about drawing. And then this kid in the background was just like head in the thing, not engaging at all in conversation and just in his own little world. And I really noticed that contrast because I think like, I mean, it could have been the same for when we were younger, like I think of like Game Boys and all that were out and stuff, but I've never been like massively into gaming, apart from the period that I went through when I was like literally obsessed with Pac-Man. Like Pac-Man was my world. That and MSN Messenger, those two in conjunction. And it was like when you had dial-up internet. So like if somebody picked up the phone, it would be like But I think like technology does, it interferes with our presence, it interferes with our ability to like be fully in the
Mhm.
moment. And like I see it a lot as well. Like I know that you've got an Apple Watch and stuff. But like I notice it with people when they're out and about that even if they're like out on a walk or stuff or like they've got their sports watch and whoever they're with, they're constantly looking at something else. They're not like
Yeah.
it's like the distraction is always there. It's one of the reasons that I like always have my phone on silent. Like unless I know that I'm expecting like a really important call, I'll put my phone on loud. But other than that, I always have my phone on silent. And then I'm checking it when I check it or when I have like an insight of like, oh, message, probably Gail. Plan the next call. Um, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like, and actually for me, it's a reminder as well. You sharing that story about um the diamantes is to reconnect with my own stuff as well. I have been doing a bit of art. Last week, I got my watercolor paints out and started doodling and doing some drawing and some painting and just like being in the moment. I put on my nice candle. It's created a nice little atmosphere. And yeah, I did some painting for a bit, so it was nice. And I love that about using paints and color and stuff. Is like I was saying this to somebody before, um, about like with art, you start off with like a blank page, and you're literally giving it life. Like
Mm.
something that had nothing on it before suddenly is like transformed with whatever you choose to put on it, whether it's writing, if you're writing poems or a letter or whatever. That's another thing that I think would be nice to bring back. I don't have a post box. Nobody can write to me letters, but letters are nice too.
There's
I think,
a
yeah.
company in London who uh, they're on TikTok, but they're bringing back pen pals, and they
Ah,
actually match you. Um, and then so it's like, but it's like proper handwritten letters. It's not email. It's not email pen pal.
that's
Um,
cool.
it is, and I've been really tempted because I had pen pals when I was younger. Two in France
She
and one
had
in
that as
America.
well.
And then even like remember when I used to be in the guides and um like you'd meet people at like on like camp. We went to this thing up in Inverness. It was like a big jamboree and like meeting people and like write into them. And like even like my friends and like I think I've said this on the pod before around how I because when I went to uni in 1994 is like email wasn't a thing. So it's like we wrote to each
Yeah,
other
I
and
love
and
that.
I think there's a certain art. And I remember actually my friend Becca, she actually sent me a letter when I lived in my old house. She actually sent me a letter through the post. And I was like, this is like
Yeah,
the
I love
best thing
that.
ever. And it's
Yeah,
like the joy of receiving posts because like you don't really receive posts so much. And like even like in Christmas cards now, it's often people don't write anything in them. It's just like um
yeah,
and it's so I am a bit of a fan of that. It might be something I might look into next year. Or if
yeah.
anyone
I'd
wants
love
to
to do
be
that
my
too.
pen pal,
I'd be your pen
actual
pal if you could
writing pen
actually send
pal.
me a letter.
It's
I'd be
how
your pen pal
it's
if you could actually send it. I'd need
we
a
can
postal
send it by
address.
owl like in Harry Potter. And it just knows where you are.
That would be
Um,
good.
it'd have to maybe be a bit more email pen pal, but it's just something nice.
It's
And
not
it's
the
like the
same.
same thing
Yeah.
with like when you journal, like to use pen
Mm,
to paper and like there's sort of the psychology around that and what it does in your body and I
definitely.
think as well it's like even just like writing now it's like so much is like typing and but
Mm,
you just think like if tomorrow all the technology switched off, how would people survive? I think like,
yeah.
my generation, your generation would survive fine. Like, but like if you think of like the new generations, the young people today, like they've never known a world without technology like this.
Yeah. And advance so quickly. That's what's quite
Mm.
scary. And then you're
You
like,
know,
where's it going to go?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy a bit of like, AI, ChatGPT and stuff, but part of me is like, I feel like it's like a calling around like slower stuff a little bit
Yeah.
in terms of like creativity and, like the energetics that you put into things. And I think people know when things
Mm.
are, I think people can sense when there's an authenticity there,
Yeah,
when there's
100%.
not.
Mm.
Um, I was talking to can I share some news?
Yeah.
I have passed my embodiment training,
Oh,
and yesterday I passed my human design certification. And
of
as someone
course
who
you did,
enjoys a
bro.
certificate, I have two new certificates to add to my collection.
Oh, look at you go.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
how
quite
does
pleased
that
actually.
feel?
It feels really good. It's a bit weird though. I mean, obviously, like, I mean, we're sort of timing wise, it feels quite nice around it's coming to the end of this year. I know that
Yeah.
you and I talk about um like January sometimes isn't the best time to start new things if you don't want to. But I think there is something there for everybody where you think actually it's a new year, or there's a different number in it. Um
Mm.
and just where things are going. Like the last 12 months, so I've had a few learning things on the pad, like my playing big. So that was like well, it was like 6 months of weekly calls and things like that, and then a big assignment that took me way longer than I was expecting. So
Mm.
that was in the summer. The accreditation was like another 3 months, and then the human design's really been a whole year. So because I started that September 2024.
Fuck, that's mad. How has that been a
Yeah,
year?
yeah, it's been
What?
I know, so it's been a bit mad, and you sort of think like a few of these things have all sort of like tying up nicely to go into like
Yeah.
whatever's next. And that's partly why I was reflecting a bit on, and then when I was chatting to Jules after doing my final assessment online, which was a live reading, I was shitting myself about, I can't lie, but it was actually much better than I thought. And we were just chatting a wee bit, and then she said, "Oh, your Chiron return." I was doing a bit of research, and like Chiron is generally around when the age of 50, and I was like, "Ah, fucking hell, that's me, man." Um,
Chiron, for anyone that doesn't know, is the wounded healer in
hmm.
astrology. Um,
Yeah, so it
yeah.
was just like a good conversation, and this is where I'm a bit like, there's some delays in going into the house. Like I've not had my car. Like
Mhm.
it's almost been like a forced slowing down and acceptance of things and being patient. Um, and actually like digging back into some of these things and where am I looking to take it. And I was then reflecting through the lens of this Chiron return, and that actually like you don't have to have all the answers. And actually if approaching things
Mhm.
with a bit more kind of like less constraint and more like how would a child approach some of this, and they would be like a child doesn't know about like financial risks associated with a particular investment, or like a child would just be like, well, we'll just try it and let's see. Like, it's a lot more
Yeah.
of a freeing mentality. So our curiosity there. And I was like, that's quite a good way to approach things. And it was funny, I was watching a little bit of TikTok yesterday, and somebody was talking about some trends that they were, a marketeer was talking about things that they're expecting to come up in 2026. And I was like, I sat there and I watched this and I was like, this is so funny, because this is the things that have felt in terms of, like you and I have spoken before, and we've talked a bit about like, what are we craving? And actually some of these trends that she was talking about were in alignment of around that. And this whole thing of like, people don't want to just buy your fucking course anymore. And like you and I have talked a lot, and like,
Mhm.
why haven't we, we're both, if we really were passionate about something, we would have done the thing and it would have been out there, because that's the type of people we are. And so
Mhm.
there's obviously been some sort of reason in our resistance. And when I was watching this
Mhm.
TikTok, and I thought to myself, actually we've probably just sensed a lot of the energetics, and there's a lot of shoulds around there in terms of how to be an entrepreneur, how to make business, how to side hustle, how to live life. And there's so much should out
Yeah.
there. And I think we've just been a bit like, I'm not sure this is really, that just doesn't feel right for me. Um,
Mm,
and weirdly, like I'm a part of it when I've looked through my human design lens, is like as a projector, that's not how I'm built around some of it anyway. Um, but I was just quite interested. So that's been it's been a big weight off my shoulders, I suppose, because like I've invested a lot of time, not just the financial, like obviously there's a financial investment, but in terms of like to complete the work to the standard that I wanted to feel like I've actually embedded the learning. And the
yeah.
other thing as well is like I've met some great people
Yeah.
who are going to be kind of like in my life. And I was really reflecting on it. And I think if I think back 12 months, I'm living in a different place. Um, but like even just things like not drinking, would never
Yeah.
have imagined that on the Mondays. I always thought that I would have like maybe have cut back. I have now lost 3 kilos. Thanks
Look at
very much.
you go.
I know. I felt like, to know when you're just like, I don't weigh myself very often, but I was like, because I remember I'd stopped drink. I hadn't drank for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I thought I'll weigh myself because I'm bound to have lost weight. Nothing. I'd lost nothing, and I was raging, and I was like, and so I don't stand on the scales often. I have to when I go to the hospital, but I just because it stresses me out. So I'd go by how do I feel in my clothing, how am I feeling in my body,
Mm,
what do I think when I look in the mirror. But the other day I was like, I feel like I might stand on the scales and see, because I felt like and I was like, maybe it's just like I've lost some bloating and water, but no, I'd lost 3 kilos. Um, which is not bad really, because the only thing I've really changed is not drinking.
yeah.
Um,
It's mad, isn't it? How like it just naturally happens. You
yeah,
don't
and
even
then
need
well,
to
I wasn't sure
change
if I
your
was
whole
going to do
life.
marathon month. So marathon month is
Mm.
December. I wasn't sure I was going to do it this year, but I think I am. A, because I feel like I can't not. And I posted in the group
You
in the
organise it.
I know. Well, I posted in the group at the start of November, and I was like, "Hey, it's November," and actually, I need to just a nice reminder because we've only got 5 days before December starts, and but because I stood on the scale, I felt quite motivated because I thought, actually, do you know what? If I do marathon month, it'll just accelerate that a little bit more and tighten up some things. So I
Mm,
ordered some new trainers because the ones I've got are a bit fecked for doing some running, so that's quite exciting.
cool.
Um, so yeah, I was just sort of thinking, like reflecting on like 12 months of learning, life looks a bit different. That's a bit
Yeah.
um
And what's
but yeah,
next
I'm
year
very
looking
frustrated
like?
at not having
Like the
vehicles,
start of
not having my
next
actual
year?
house.
Have you got there yet?
Pardon?
New house? New
Uh
house?
I know. I think we're looking at mid-December now, which is a slight delay.
At least you'll be in before
Um
Christmas though.
yeah. Um
Yeah.
it does make me laugh, right? Because obviously this is the No Taboo Woo Woo show, right? And one thing that I would say is that some of the spiritual tools that we talk about on this podcast, um, I know we've not necessarily talked about anything per se that's like overtly spiritual, but I have to say, given the crappiness of the last few weeks and some stuff that's happened, I definitely have leaned on some of my tools to support me in being patient and trusting that everything will work out, and that,
Mm,
what will be will be. And like, because I've not had my car, I'd been trying to build community down here, and it's really stalled it because like things like my netball, for example, I had a few opportunities, but I was like, if I can't get there. So even
yeah.
things like my celebrant work. But then I was like, yesterday, I just thought I said to Bob, I was like, this is an if not this, then something better chance, because I'd seen on
Mm,
Facebook one of the clubs I'd been looking at had filled one of the things they were talking about. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, well, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And if not this, then better. And I actually there was an email in my inbox today, came from that netball club about something. But you know, when you're just like, you're trying to say to people, my car's been at the garage for 3 weeks. And I'm like, people must think I'm talking bullshit because why would your car be in the garage for 3 weeks? And I'm like, well, the garage couldn't fix the thing. They had to send it to a specialist. And then I phoned them today and he was like expecting, so the turbos now come back. He was expecting some gaskets. I don't know what the fuck they are. And then he was like, but we've ordered 5 and we've received 1 and the others are on order. And then the mechanic was then saying to me, he was like, he was obviously I took the opportunity for a bit of a rant at me, like, because he said, is it, he's like, I'm really sorry. He said, this is ever since COVID. He's like, people don't stock things anymore. And then so when we need a part, like our normal supplier doesn't stock everything. So they have to go to the actual manufacturer to get it in. And he was saying that jobs that would normally take them 1 or 2 days are now taking at least a week, because of the delay in ordering the parts. And then he was saying about my car, and he was like, I've got like 10 cars sitting here just now and I'm paying people to do nothing. And I was like, okay, that's great, John. Fix my fucking car.
Just want the fucking
But,
car.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't magic up a gasket. If it needs a gasket and you don't have a
Mm-hmm.
gasket, you can't just magic one up. But it's just like, even thinking about, like journaling out some of the frustration. So, or using like my embodiment. I've been back doing the 40-day mantra again.
Mm-hmm.
And like how, like these are tools for like just being calmer. Because life
Yeah.
does like send you curveballs, and then it's like, okay, ran it out. But at the end of the day, it's like, what can I do? Like, I was on the phone to the kitchen company. I'm not going to name them, shame them just yet. They have an opportunity to resolve my complaint. If not, I will use my platform.
Watch this space.
But I was on the phone to the guy again, and I was like, and I was just like, this is really disappointing. And I was like, there's no point in me, obviously I can't change this. And so there's
Yeah.
no point in me screaming and shouting at you, but this is very disappointing. And I think I realized that I probably respond in a calmer way. Like, I don't find the dial up of like, I mean, also I don't,
Mm,
that kind of like real, or like things dissipate faster. And
yeah.
doing the embodiment, or like I've got my Moldavite back on today because I'm like, bring
Ooh.
me magic. Um, or like, like you've got your crystals around with the energy, or even just practical stuff like, cleansing your space with a bit of incense, like, or
Yeah.
scooshing my little aura mist. And, you know, and I just was like, actually, like these tools just really do help you with like day-to-day shite.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I've been doing my Reiki every night. So I've been
Okay.
doing like I really like to listen to music while I do it on Insight Timer. But I've been doing it at bedtime, which has been really nice. And I'm feeling like my energy is like nice and in alignment and
Yeah.
calm. And even though, like you say, curveballs, it's like I'm not like feeling that not feeling anxious or stressed or like with things that are like outside of my control. I'm just like,
Mm,
okay, I'm like releasing, being like, for my highest good, trusting the process. I'll do what I can and leave the rest up to the
yeah.
universe. Um, so yeah, it's like it's all these things do help. Like having the things to lean on makes a difference.
Mm,
Um, and I think just being easy with ourselves, as well, like giving ourselves grace that like we're not meant to have it all figured out. Like the discovery is part of the process of life
yeah.
and all of that. And not like in terms of like obviously the things with um the kitchen and all of that kind of stuff, but also like where you're headed, where I'm headed, and
Mm,
what's going to come in the new year. And it always feels like a bit of um I don't know, I suppose a bit of a threshold moving into a new year. Like we talk about, like I see New
mhm,
Year really as being like the astrological New Year, and when Aries we come to Aries season. So for me, it's not really like the energy of like new beginnings per se. And I thought to myself, I was like, when I look at the astrology, I'm like, it's astrologically, it's not the perfect time to be launching a new service. But when I tapped into my higher self and really what the collective would benefit from just now, like people are in need of some support and connection and a bit of guidance and clarity.
Right.
And like for me, tarot's always been a tool that has provided that. I say always, since my awakening, but it's been a tool that's provided that for me. And it's something that is like one of the tools that we can work with to see, like, you know, what is coming up and how can I navigate that kind of energy. And sometimes I think you just got to we can make a lot of excuses. And it's like coming back to that Seven of Swords, Ten of Cups, right? You've got your Ten of Cups, you've got this, like, this life this wish that you've got. And it's like you can come up with mentally all of the reasons not to do something, or all of the reasons, oh, now's not a good time, oh, I'll just do it then, or oh, I'll just wait, or whatever. But actually, it's like, you know, what if now is the time? And that's up to you. Only you know the answer
Right.
to that. And it's honouring that, I think. Um, so yeah, just some thoughts. Some
No,
thoughts. I'm
absolutely.
interested to see where, because you kind of dodged that question a little bit about where you're going with your embodiment and your human design. I
Well,
am intrigued to see where you're going with that next year. And I asked you also because I know that people listening will be interested to know.
yeah, I mean, I think the intention is always that is to you, it's not just been a, hey, this is a great thing to have learned for yourself. The embodiment, definitely gonna do some classes, hopefully in person, in your Blackburn and online as well. Just because one of the things I realized, I was asked for feedback when I was doing my practical in terms of how I felt it went, and I was laughing because I went first. So there was a few, and my kitchen was delivered that day, and so there was a few reflections when I was observing there were 4 of us, um, and, there was some of my reflections were on how my performance, but actually then Claire was like, you know, what I can't remember what her question was, but I think she was a bit like, probably meaning more like, what have you witnessed or seen in yourself? And I said to her, I said, "I actually realized I really enjoy teaching. Like, I really enjoy
Mm,
sharing, like, tools to be able for people to be able to improve or help themselves or get better at something." And it was the same, like, when I do, like, netball coaching and I see people, I got that same, when I was doing the embodiment practice, and, I've gotten so much out of it personally to then be able to share that to others. So
mm,
that's definitely on the cards. There's some practical shit around that I need to do. I'm also doing a netball qualification as well at the moment, which has been so interesting as a different way of looking at things. But to me, anything I do that's all about coaching and teaching people how to do something
mhm,
is everything I learn then gets sort of interwoven into the other things I do. So, like, for me, some of the embodiment, I was like, I can see practical applications in performance sport. So I was like,
okay.
I would love to bring this into like my netball coaching. But then equally, when I think about the stuff I'm learning in this netball qualification that I'm doing, I can see that I would use some of that in how I would work with a client one on one to get themselves
Yeah,
wherever it is that they want to go. And so, like, all of these things I do just sort of like merge into one big mixing pot of stuff that helps people get unstuck, really. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and then the ceremony side of things, I have a booking for a naming ceremony next year after a
I
conversation I
love
had.
that!
I'm so
Yay!
excited about it. I can't wait, honestly. And then I've got a wedding potentially booked in for 2027.
I cannot
So,
believe we're talking
oh
2027
man,
plans already. That's mental.
I know, but it's made me realize, like, because I've just had this sort of sense around and some of this is just around because I've just finished a year-long human design qualification, which so much of that is, obviously is a self-inquiry.
Mm.
Um, is how I am built. Like I'm, how I'm called to do business and what I feel and how I'm designed isn't this whole here's your funnel and here's your this and here's your that. And so I feel human design sort of gives you this permission slip to just be yourself. And that actually
Yeah.
if you lean into being yourself and following what's in alignment and your authentic self is then you will, things will flow in because
Mm-hmm.
you're being true to yourself. You don't have to hustle in the same way as everybody else, and I think that the more people feel empowered to just do the thing how they want to do it or take their interpretation of what a course is or a funnel or a blah blah blah, like, it's and I think you and I have spoke a lot about this, like partly because you and I have experienced in a lot of where we do a lot of online conversation is actually trying to get back to doing some in person. I feel people just want a bit more contact with people. So,
I
um,
agree. I was literally talking so I had my last Reiki client, my last one-to-one Reiki client yesterday. And I was talking to her. She's one of my longest clients, and it was the last one-to-one session. And I decided that I was going to wait until I spoke to her in person, like on the Zoom, to tell
mhm,
her that look, this is our last session, which felt very bittersweet. But I was talking about that and about feeling called more into a direction of group work, which I've been
mm,
feeling for a while. And we've talked about doing collaborations as well with stuff too, but with the intention to bring people together. Like I really feel that so strongly. And it's not just me on a personal level, it's what I see in the world around me as well. And picking up energetically. It's like that we need to be coming together. We need to be surrounded by like-minded souls. And I feel like connection is a part of like the whole spiritual journey that is, I don't think it's really acknowledged as much because we talk a lot about the connection to ourselves and the connection to the universe, but also in that, like we're also meant to connect with each other. We are
mhm,
having this human experience where it's like that is what adds more depth and nourishment, like when we're able to share experiences with each other and find common ground and share ideas and hold space for each other. And that's what this is all about. It's connection. And so
mm,
I feel like and that's the thing with the whole digital world at the moment, is like there's a lot of it that feels like false connection. And I know we've talked about this on previous episodes before about like social media and stuff, but a lot of that, it looks on the surface like, oh, people are connecting and, like they're maybe sending each other DMs or whatever it is, but it's so small, and it's not that depth. It's not really nourishing your soul. And I feel like the kind of work that you're talking about doing with the embodiment and having classes and people coming together, and also like a weekly thing where people can actually build relationships,
mm.
like opportunities for people to actually make pals, to find their soul family, not just, keyboard warrior
I know. I mean,
connection.
online stuff is convenient. Don't get me wrong. Like my Kundalini
Mm,
twice a week at 6 a.m. I'm glad that is online because if
yeah,
it weren't, there's no way I'd be maybe in the summer, but it feels quite early for me. Um, and it's not really as connected because we dial in, you do your thing, and the call gets ended. Whereas if
yeah.
you go to a class in person, generally speaking, you're stood outside for a few minutes making a little bit of chit chat, and then as you're packing up, you get another little bit of chit chat. And
Hmm.
then, maybe in the class, you're able to catch someone's eye when you're doing something that's incredibly fucking difficult. You're like, oh my God. And then
Yeah.
somebody else is like, it's okay, I get you. And so, like, you just realize that you've got these little glimmers of like connection in a face-to-face environment. And, don't get me
Mm.
wrong, like, Zoom is a godsend, Riverside, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's like it's and rather than or, isn't it? For like, but
Mm.
I do think that, maybe there is just a sense of it's nice to do stuff in person and feel the energy of other people and, um,
Mm,
so yeah, I'm definitely thinking 2026 is a bit more face to face. And also like living somewhere new, like for me, I find it can be quite isolating if everything's just online. And then the only
yeah,
person you speak to is the checkout person at the co-op, and the level of chat will depend on their mood. So it kind of just feels a bit like it's a nice way to collaborate, for people to just
yeah.
come together for an hour.
So
So yeah,
watch the
so that's
space,
the
people.
plan.
If you want to do
Absolutely.
some embodiment with Gail,
Absolutely.
just a gentle
Or
nudge to get yourself out there. That's all.
I'm like, "Yeah."
Love.
Oh, I think, because the thing that I've also reflected on is that I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do this," and then, there's some stuff that is sort of, like, outlined, but actually just, like, having a little bit of a pause on certain things to really lean into, like, what's right, but then also it's like, just because I start doing something doesn't mean that you have to stick with that forever and a day, and that's one thing that I do. Like, I suppose this is practicing what I preach. Like, I would always support someone saying, "You can change your mind at any time," and that's a message that I get to listen to as well.
100%. Yeah. God, sometimes we just need to listen to our own advice, don't we?
Absolutely.
Like, that's what helps with
Absolutely.
these podcasts as well and listening back to them. But I feel
I
you on
know.
that because I felt that way with starting the tarot readings because I thought to myself, on reflection, what I did with Reiki was I kind of put myself in a bit of a box and I was limiting myself in a
Mm,
way. And tarot's always been something that I've connected really strongly with. And I was like, oh, but I don't want to become like a lifelong tarot reader per se. Do you know what? It's like, and then it was that mindset of, Sandra, you're literally putting yourself from one box into another box. This doesn't need to be forever. This is something that you're called to do just now.
mhm,
And just honoring that and being like, okay, this could last 6 months, it could last 6 years or the rest of my life. Who knows? But for now, this is what I'm called to do. And I think it's just like allowing the journey of it to unfold and honoring the changes that we feel. And when we feel
mm,
like it's time to, create change or to add something different in there or to change course, like you're allowed to do that. And I do
mm,
believe that sometimes it's actually giving ourselves a permission to change your mind. And I think that sometimes when well, at least I can speak on this personally, that when you're in this sort of spiritual service-based environment where you feel like almost like a responsibility for other people as well. And there's that, like I felt that certainly that throughout this process of coming to this decision was, "Ugh, I don't want to let people down. But
mm,
actually, in honoring yourself, you're honoring them too. And like, if you don't honor where you're at and what it is that you want to do in the direction that you want to go in, then there's always going to be a misalignment. So, for whoever else needed to hear that, give yourself the permission to change course. Maybe it is time, and you're allowed to. So, there you go.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Stop being the thief of your joy.
Stop being the thief of your joy and head towards your 10 of cups. It's waiting for you. And
I feel
I
that's a
feel
nice.
like on that note,
I know. It's funny because sometimes you're just like, I feel that's a good full stop.
yeah, yeah, that does feel like a nice full stop.
So yeah, share with us. Feel free to comment. Let us
Yeah.
know if you have identified your thief of joy and told it to fuck off and done something fun.
Yeah, a
And
little.
100%. Until
Until the
next
next time,
time.
people, take
Sandra,
care.
thanks a lot. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, then be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get informed about future episodes. We'll see you next time.